Welcome to Thriving Thoughts, a podcast for women who believe in thriving in any and every circumstance. Every week, we have candid conversations with remarkable women about how they silence the little lies in their minds and overcome their shoulds, coulds, and not enoughs with big truths. I'm your host, Dr. Sherry. Now let's thrive. Hey sisters, welcome back to another episode of Thriving Thoughts. Today, you're in for a treat for episode 17. Y'all, we talk about crushing insecurities and literally walking into and over fear. You know, the fears that keep us from coming out of our shell, the insecurities that all of us ladies, if we're honest, have faced from time to time about becoming close, making those meaningful connections. And I'm here today with my friend Lindsay Morgel. Lindsay is a phenomenal woman who has spent years in very, very successful years, y'all, in financial advising, in a number of different careers. She's totally switched career paths, which you'll hear about soon. But here's the great thing I love about Lindsay. Lindsay, when she decided to come on the show, she decided to be 100% vulnerable and transparent and share her story in the hopes of encouraging you to be able to speak truth over those insecurities that you might be facing. Lindsay goes back in time to when she once upon a time faced some relationship betrayal, particularly with friends, with other girls, right? We talk about this concept of a rite of passage because mean girls are always going to be mean girls and you're never going to rid the world of mean girls, right? Well, while that may be the case, Lindsay shares with us some beautiful truths that moms, this one is for you. Listen up. If you have a tween or a teenage daughter who is going through this, because let's face it, we all go through it. This is an opportunity for us to change the course, for us to help them crush their insecurities and walk into and over fear and live out the life that God intended for them and live out the gifts that they were given and step in the other direction of conformity. So I know you guys are going to love the sheer honesty and the candor and the humor of my friend Lindsay. And listen, you're going to want to connect with her. You're going to want to follow her. She has really, just over the last couple of years, learned to crush her shell of insecurity, learned to connect with women. In fact, y'all, because she's done that, she's discovered that her chief gift is to be a connector of women. She's already started connecting me with other women that I needed to meet. So she is a sheer blessing and a breath of fresh air when it comes to us talking about ridding ourselves of these so-called rites of passage and crushing our shells of insecurity and literally walking into and over fear. Enjoy my conversation with Lindsay. Let's dive into that, Lindsay, because I know this is something you and I spoke on the phone about, and it really just intrigued me. Your story and this kind of, the three words that I wrote down before we got on the call today was risk, change, and reveal. That's what I recall from our conversation. And you know what? I'm not even going to ask you a question. I want you to pick one of those words and share a little bit with us, in particular, what you were sharing with me about women and how this switch happens, this transition happens, and we kind of get away from who we were meant to be. And share a little bit about your journey through that.
So, these three words, I didn't even realize the three words that probably define what I've been through until you define them for me.
Nice.
It is. This is when I turned a certain age, I'm not going to say, because most people think I'm younger than I am, so I'm not going to give away my age. Not going to go there.
You know what? Age is a good thing, girl.
Yeah. But risk, change, reveal. I love that because that describes the journey I've been on. So I've learned from following some other people, and there's been books about this and whatnot, and I didn't experience it until the last year and a half moving here, that so many, especially with women, there's probably a dynamic that happens with males, but I'm not a man, can't.
And that's not who we're talking to anyway.
I don't know. It's not who we're talking to.
Yeah.
But with women, so many young girls, they have their passions. They know what they want to do with their life, or don't know what they want to do, but they have their passions and whatnot when they're younger.
Yeah.
Their personalities. Like I was an artist, I was a leader, I was, getting with people together in groups and accomplishing things.
Yeah.
Up until the age of probably like, I hear now it's as young as like 9, I think she said.
Yeah.
But for me, it was probably around 10, 12 years old and I moved a few times too, which is so hard when you're at that critical age. Moved, and all of a sudden, you deal with all of that stress of trying to fit in and stuff. But I pulled back from who I truly was. Like I retreated, because it's scary. You got to make new friends, and I try to fit in. And the next thing you know, it's like years and years later, and you're an adult, and you're not who you truly were. Because they say when you're still struggling to figure out what you want to do with your life, or what you want to do when you grow up, even though some 40-year-olds still struggle with that.
Yeah.
They say, think about what you wanted to do or what you were passionate about as a kid. And as a young female, as a child, I created this little club in my neighborhood where I had friends join it. We just got together and played kickball and ate sandwiches together. It was the silliest stuff. But even in grade school, I'm like, let's start a school newspaper. Let's start this. Let's start that. Middle school, when I moved away, shy, retreat, not make a lot of friends, not reach out, the pressures to conform. And then that happens to a lot of women where we get the pressure to conform
from a very early age, like you said.
We lose track of who we truly are. And I did not come out of my shell until, I'm going to throw my age out there.
Good.
Until age 40. I know a lot of you think I'm like 25. I know. But okay. And in all honesty, I got 30s, which I appreciate. Good habits and good genes. But until I stepped out of my shell, and I moved and didn't make friends. And then this time I was like, it's because I chose a different career path, and it forced me to step out of my shell. I forced myself to do something uncomfortable. I forced myself to face fears, and I got out. I made friends. My friends laugh at me now when I say I'm shy.
Yeah.
Because I'm still an introvert when it comes down to like my core, because I do need that time to recharge.
Sure.
People think I'm an extrovert when I'm out and about because I have the energy and I'm comfortable and whatnot. But, I can't just go.
Right.
I have one of my best friends. She's an extrovert. She just wants to go. And I'm like, I can go with you. And then I need some down days.
Yeah. Then I need to be alone.
I need to not be peopling a few days.
Yep.
Okay. I need the quiet time. But I've realized in my journey that like I've missed out on so much because I conformed and I was shy and whatnot, until I got out of my shell after this move, because I threw myself out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And
hey,
that's
Lindsay, I'm going to stop you there for a second.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I want to go back. I want to go back in time a little bit so that we can slow this down and break it down for the listeners.
I'm just going. So
I know, because it's an exciting story.
You just stop me wherever you want.
I will, girl. That's my job here. So it's interesting. So I don't know if you saw this a while back. I did a Facebook Live about unpacking the truth of you. And I was going through some boxes, and they were all memorabilia boxes. And it was just happenstance, pure happenstance that day. And as I was unpacking certain items, it was just so amazing to see this, exactly what you're talking about, to see this, what had once been buried, begin to shine and begin to coming to fruition. I'm having trouble finding the words, but so this is funny. One of the things I found in the box was a cassette tape. And on this cassette tape was interviews that I did with my brother that we recorded on my mom's little like Walkman. Now this is back in like early 80s, people, so like you had like the play and the record button that you pressed at the same time. Right. Yeah. I was doing interviews when I was like 10 years old. Look, do you see what I'm doing now?
I did interviews with my cousins when I was 10 years old.
Right. And right now, what are we doing? Interviews. Like this is what I'm saying. It's something that it was there. It's always been there. It was a gift of mine. It was in there. And then I too, Lindsay, felt that shift where I was like, oh my gosh, I got to start paying attention to what other people think of me. I've got to stop being me and start being who I think they want me to be. And certainly, here's the most comical thing of all that is that no girl that I've ever met, maybe the rare exception, is immune to that. so here we've got all of these girls, right, in their early, 12 to 17 years of age, if not longer than that, right? Trying to be who we think other people think we should be. So all of us are essentially walking around burying ourselves. Like, it's ludicrous.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you could share with us some of the examples from that time in your life where you started to stuff you down. And what kinds of things did you notice about your happiness, about your, I don't know, just your overall level of fulfillment in life as you started to conform, as you started to be the things that you thought other people needed you to be?
Well, at that age, I retreated and I became a little more antisocial. I had my few girlfriends, but I avoided close relationships with women because at that age, you know how women are in the middle school age and stuff, and the cattiness and this and that. And I am a no drama person. That didn't fit me.
Right.
So I avoided a lot of that and retreated. And I was kind of a loner because I didn't get involved in drama and chaos and whatever. I was more of a guy's girl, but at the same time, I didn't have a lot of friends. So that was something that happened. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of retreated and I felt depressed. I mean, I had family issues going on, like a lot of us sometimes do. But I would just go to class sometimes and just go lay down and put my head down. And I would just feel depressed. I mean, I'm the girl that my friends laugh at me nowadays because I connect other people so much. And I'm all about connecting people and just, people laugh when I say that I am an introvert, but they would laugh when I say I'm shy. But one of those years in high school where I didn't have a lunch period where I had any friends in it, because I only had a few friends in high school, I would go sit in the library because I had no one to talk to. So I would go sit in the library. And I was the pretty girl that had the boyfriends and this and that. Right. It didn't matter. I didn't have the connections or the close relationships, and I didn't like superficial stuff. So I would go sit in the library by myself. A lot of times I would just nap because I was tired.
And would you say, Lindsay, that was why that was why you didn't have relationships, was because you didn't want the superficial and that was really all that you saw at the time?
A lot of it was at that age. A lot of what I saw was superficial and it just wasn't me. I always thought of myself as an older soul at the time. So even my mom told me when I was in my early 20s, she's like, I feel like I'm talking to a 40-year-old woman. So maybe there was something about me personally where I felt like I was, and it's not to say, I'm more mature than other people, because I do not want people to feel like, oh my God, like I'm, so mature they're not. I just didn't like drama. Yeah. It wasn't my thing. Yeah. I just didn't like the, I just looked at things differently than other people. And I felt like I didn't have a lot of things in common with other women. And I mean, there were probably a lot of other amazing women out there. I just didn't know who they were because there were the other women sitting around the cafeteria like me, or just, and I just didn't know who to talk to. So I went and hid because I don't have anyone to talk to.
Right. Right.
And I was shy.
So, okay, let's fast forward a little bit. So you graduate from high school, and I know many of us think that we get out of that's no longer an issue, right? And then we go into the workplace, and I know that you spent several years in financial advising, I believe. And so you've spent a lot of time in the professional world, and you're still in the professional world now in a little bit of a different capacity, but in a lot of a different capacity, actually, which you'll tell us about shortly. But can you tell us if you had some of those same experiences or same challenges in connecting and making friends in your 20s and into your 30s? What did that young adulthood look like for you?
So my young adulthood, I worked in a big office for about 10 years with like 100 plus people and a lot of women, and they all chit chatted and this and that. And they all knew me as being like work driven and keeping to myself. Okay. And it wasn't until I moved 10 yeyears after working there that they all gave me this big happy goodbye. And I was like, I didn't realize you guys liked me that much. And they're like, but you were so nice to all of us. Aww. Well, I didn't socialize with everyone. I kept to myself, and I was super busy, and they knew that, but I was very nice to everyone. I was very respectful to everyone. It wasn't until I moved away that I realized, I'm like, oh, these people in the office, they actually like thought highly of me. I just kept to myself because I was I kept to myself because I was so used to the high school and the teenage years that I was like, acquaintances are great, a little chit chat's great. I'm not getting close to people. That
Well,
was how I dealt with most of my 20s.
and that is so fascinating to me because most of the people that I've encountered specifically, in the psychology world, let's say, they avoided connections or meaningful connections with people because of a past hurt or betrayal. And in your case, that's not what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is a lack of what you saw as meaningful, as the availability of meaningful connection.
Well, no, a lot of it actually was betrayal.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
I'm about to peel back the layers.
There you are. In my teenage years, because I moved around a little bit, the girlfriends I made when I went to high school, I was young, I was pretty, I did some modeling, I was on national TV back in the days when they didn't have the internet and stuff like that. And I had a couple girlfriends. Whenever we go to the mall and look for boys, because that's what you do when you're 13 or 14 and you can't drive, right? They were shy, and I'm shy, but I'm much more approachable.
Okay.
And the girls that I surrounded myself with were self-conscious. So when we would talk to boys, they would make negative comments and say they were only talking to me for negative reasons. And then they didn't know how to talk to the boy. So they would basically put me down and make me feel like crap all the time. To make
themselves feel better.
So I had these friends that just made themselves feel better and put me down. And my mom would tell me, like, you don't need them. And eventually I stopped being friends with them. One of them a few years later actually apologized for it.
Wow.
Years later, we were sitting in a classroom together, and she's just like, she could tell she grew up basically. And I haven't talked to her in years because I moved around the country and stuff.
Sure.
But we were in touch through most of our 20s and early 30s. But we grew up, and she apologized about that. Actually, she apologized at like senior in high school. But she was just like, yeah, I was immature, blah, blah, blah. I didn't accept a lot of relationships. And then the few that I had were women that were putting me down for being, for positive things.
Right.
And so I avoided relationships because I didn't want to have the betrayal of letting people get close to me. That was my thing. It was all about the betrayal. And I've shared that with women this day and age, that this is why I didn't want to get close to women, because I was so afraid of being betrayed. And now that I've let women in my life, I'm just like, oh my God, now that everyone's like that, life is amazing. Women are amazing. And I love on my friends so much. I mean, I've never had female relationships where every day we're telling each other how much we love each other.
Right.
It's amazing.
Well, and going back to what you said, people putting you down, your friends putting you down for positive things. I don't even think it's that they were putting you down for positive things. I think it's because they were putting you down because they were comparing themselves to you and seeing themselves in a negative light, and therefore had to put you down to bring you down to where they believed they were. Right. And,
you're exactly right.
And now we're in this place which, gosh, I hate to say it, but I wonder if it's just not a rite of passage. Like, I wonder if it's just not a rite of passage that we have to wait as women until we're in our early 40s to discover that we can love and we can throw comparison in the pit where it belongs, and we can support one another, and we can say you are beautiful and you are amazing and not feel threatened in the slightest. Like, I don't know. Is it a rite of passage, or can we do something to make that happen earlier?
I don't know. Because a lot of, it's the whole Mean Girls thing.
Totally.
And I know another acquaintance of mine who, one of the things she does is, and I have my friend that I want you to talk to as well, works with teens and tweens to help improve their self-image. But then I know another girl that works in multiple aspects, but part of it is with girls at that critical age. And it spoke to me because I was like, this is the age where I lost my way, lost my way as far as like going in a bad route, but this is where I stopped being my true self.
Right.
And then I started being my true self again at age 40. So I've heard books about it. I've read movements about it, and I'm passionate about, like, that's where I feel like in the future for me, if I can do anything to help young girls at that critical age, not go through that, that I don't think it has to be a rite of passage. There's something I think we can do about it.
Yes.
Because I know there's a lot of women that a lot of young girls that with the right support, they don't have to go through that, and they come out on the right side.
I am so glad to hear you say that, because I think a lot of times that's what moms think. They
Mhm.
mean well, they love well, they want the best for their daughters, but they think that's just the way things are. And so I love that you and your friend and other people have this passion and desire to kind of speak that truth in life into the
Mhm.
minds of young girls. And that's why my desire through this podcast is to speak that truth to the women listening who have the daughters who are going through that right now, right? Like this is your opportunity to be that influence on them, to tell them this is not just the way it is. This is
Mhm.
not something that you have to go through. This is not something that, mean girls are mean girls. And one day they'll be ashamed. No, maybe they won't. Here's how you advocate for yourself. Here's how
Mhm.
you stay true to yourself. Here's how you shine and you don't give a what about what other people think about you.
Exactly.
I mean, moms listening, I cannot say that loudly enough. Like, you're hearing two, I'm just going to say it what we are. You're hearing two accomplished, beautiful women talk about the journey and the
Mhm.
skew of that journey of finally finding ourselves again and revealing ourselves again to the world and now having an impact. But what if we could have an impact, and what if we could convince those young girls to have an impact earlier by not going with the flow, by paving their own way, by
Mhm.
taking the risks, that word risk that we talked about.
Yep.
Can you share with us a little bit, Lindsay? Because I was about to go, like, I don't know, I felt like I needed a megaphone there for a second. Like I was standing
Oh,
on
I heard
yeah.
you going.
So, let's talk about risk. So, you went from this place of, you experienced the betrayal, then you experienced the superficiality of relationships. You didn't want anything to do with that. And as you got older, you kind of kept to yourself, and then you had this shift. So I want you to do two things for us. One, I want you to tell us how the shift happened for you, where you decided, I've got to face these fears. I've got to go out and do this, or I
Mhm.
want to go out and do this. So one, what was the shift? And then two, what were some of the risks that you took in that shift?
Oh boy. Well, the shift happened. Like my husband and I moved around the country a few times, to follow his career, and I made great money. I worked for other financial advisors. I was 27 the first time I made $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
So I was young, and I had
Right.
not finished my bachelor's degree yet because I did it on nights and weekends for like
Woo!
10 years. So yeah, I didn't need
Right.
the darn degree,
Right.
but we moved. I guess I had kind of become a risk taker because I learned that I could do this and help someone market and grow their business. And then I met someone who was like, I can't afford to hire you, but I can give you a commission, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it was a small town, like not a lot of money to be made. And I was like, well, I'll take this risk. He's like, I'll give you a certain percentage. And I was like, well, I'll do it if the percentage is higher.
Yeah.
Got to negotiate. And I ended up making him enough money to where I still was, like, the year we left after 2.5 years, I was walking away like, oh, I was going to make 100 plus that year.
Right.
And my husband was not happy with his job. And I was like, I'm not happy because I wasn't working with a motivated crowd of people.
Yeah.
Money is not everything.
No, it
it's
is not.
I went from an ambitious environment to a very, very laid back, not motivated environment where I got depressed, even though I made a lot of money, because it just didn't fulfill me. It didn't fulfill me. So then we moved again. My husband switched jobs. I met another woman who said, oh my God, if you do what you can do, I promise I will take care of you. But I've had such turnover and such a bad, she's just had a hard time with employees. I have to start you at this, but if you, this minimal rate, whatever it was. But I promise if you do what you say you can do. And I was like, well, I have nothing to lose, because if she's not going to pay me more when I turn things around, then I leave, right? I had confidence in myself. So I go there, of course, I do my thing. I get paid well. So I took risks a couple times leaving comfortable salaries. Now my husband had comfortable corporate, salaries or whatnot. Yeah. But when we moved here, I was just like, I'm not fulfilled because I've never been fulfilled by just money.
Yeah.
And
say that again, girl.
Yeah. And I did not build relationships. I had acquaintances everywhere I lived. I had the wives of the few, drinking buddies of my husband that we go out for dinner and drinks. That was it. And I grew apart from a lot of my friends back home in Michigan. So I had like one or two friends that I hardly kept in touch with. I didn't have anyone but my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved here and I was like, you know what? This was when I was like 39. I was like, I'm coming up on 40, and somebody presented me with the opportunity to join a direct sales business. Not the one I'm in now,
Mm-hmm.
but a different one, which I am so grateful for because I would not have thought to do this. She presented it to me and I was like, you know what? Take a risk. I can make $100,000 everywhere else I go. So why not do it here?
Okay.
It didn't work out that way with that business because I was not inspired by it.
Yeah.
I wasn't working with my tribe, and I mean, great women, but I took the risk and it was freaking scary.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden I did it because I didn't do it to make money. I did it because I was like, it's going to force me out of my shell and I'm going to have to talk to people, which I didn't think I'd like to do.
Yeah. So, but why did you, like, why was that so compelling at the time for you to want to connect with people?
I think I reached a certain age where I was like, I felt like I was on my own all the time. And it was just me and my husband.
Yeah. Okay.
And I felt like, and living remotely.
Yeah.
Living around the country, I'm going to say, like, when you have, everyone has issues with their spouses. We all have fights and stuff. And I remember one evening, like after living here, my husband and I had an argument. We were in DC. I don't even remember what it was about. It was something stupid. But I never had anyone to vent to.
Yeah.
Because my other girl, my best friend back home, I kind of grown apart with because I'd moved around. She was out of the country. My other one I hadn't been close to. I had like nobody. It was just me and my husband. And that's hard when you have marital issues and fights. And I just felt like when we had issues, and then there were small ones, but any fight just felt like I was alone. I lived in places where I had nobody. And all of a sudden, one night in DC where we had a stupid fight about something I can't even freaking remember, like he went his way and hung out at a bar, and I just sat at the hotel bar and met people from my hometown, which was kind of funny. But the fact that I was able to sit down and text a friend and vent.
Yeah.
That was the first time I had been able to do that in years.
Wow.
And it just made such a difference to be able to vent that to someone else.
And not feel alone.
And and I've just learned, like, my life has been, I mean, I started a whole new business because I, didn't do the one I joined with initially. But my life has been, I feel more fulfilled in my life by the relationships I've made in the last year and a half because I opened myself up and I let people in. Yeah. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's amazing to have friends to go to have people in your lives, to be able to tell your friends you love them. Like, that makes me feel rich.
So I'm going to put you on the spot and I'm going to ask you to speak to our women listening today. Okay. I'm going to ask you, there's women listening right now who are in that pre-shift. Mm-hmm. They are in that place where they are desperate for connection. Mm-hmm. I mean, the truth is all of us were designed for connection, right? So they're desperate for it. They want it. And so not but they want the connection, and they're afraid. And they're believing some lies in their heads about what could happen or what would happen if they do that. Can you share a little bit from your experience? Did you have to face any of those lies in your head as you started to break out of your shell, as you started to force yourself to reach out to other people and make these connections that you had to fight to be able to go and now reap the rewards you're reaping?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I will say, if you fight it, it's so much easier. It gets easy so quickly. So yeah, my thing was I was like, yeah, I'm gonna start networking. You pump yourself up. You tell yourself you're gonna do things. You're like, I watched a Rachel Hollis video back in, I think it was 2017 or so, where she talked about, like, not walking the walk and talking the talk, whatever. Yeah. I was talking the talk. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm smart. I can do all this. And I was doing nothing because I was scared as shit. Right. I was scared as shit. And then I called myself on my shit and I'm like, this is just, no, you got to do something about it. So I went to my very first networking meeting. There was like 100 women there. It was not the event I would tell everyone to go to first. But so when I did work in financial services, even though I supported other advisors, I got licensed in the business years ago. So I did do a lot of cold calling. And I always broke things down to I took the emotion out of things. Okay. Emotion is what holds us back from doing things. So I took the emotion out of things. So when I would work with, especially, it was great when I worked with a bunch of men and we would do cold calling and I would get the most appointments set or the most calls and this and that. And it wasn't because my sales manager would call them all in and be like, listen to Lindsay. She's great on the phone, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying anything special. I'm just doing the activity.
Right.
So for me, showing up at a networking event was I get in the car, I drive to the event after I'm dressed, of course. I drive to the event and I show up. I might be nervous as hell.
So that was what you focused on.
That's what I focused on.
Get in the car, get there, show up.
So I've always, ever since I was younger, for me personally, when I deal with fear, I look at myself like kind of like a robot. I'm like, if this person can do this, then I can do this. I break it down to such a simple thing. Like we're all human beings. We all have, 2 arms, 2 legs.
Right.
Take the thought out of it and you just drive there. You get out of the car, you show up, blah, 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 blah. And I felt really nervous the first few meetings. The first meeting, I was playing with my phone. I was playing with the coffee maker. I don't know what I was doing. Making small talk with a few people, like talking to the vendors, acting like I knew. I was so happy when one of my sponsors showed up because I was so nervous. But I got over that. But then I went to another meeting that was smaller. And the next thing you know, I went to another one that was not as big either. And then after that, it just got easier and easier. It's getting over that hump. And I always look at it when people would talk about cold calling, which you don't do that in direct sales, but when I did it in financial services, it was, to me, I broke it down to, well, all I'm doing is dialing buttons. So I would, taking the emotion out of the action worked for me. It's just do the action. And then when I got on the other side of the action, you either have success or not. Right. But you know what? You did it and you feel good that you did it and you're on the other side.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful advice. I love that. Thank you so much. You feel good on the other side. And I don't even think it's about taking the emotion out of it because the emotion's going to be there, right?
Yeah.
But it's about setting it aside and saying that will not be my focus. What will be my focus right now is what I need to do step by step. I'm going to break it down and I'm just going to focus on that, right?
The action. Yeah. The action, not the thought process. Like stop thinking. I always looked at it like stop thinking and just start doing.
Yes. Just do it. Just do it. So Lindsay, this is so funny. Oh my gosh. You're just going to laugh when you hear what I have to say. So I feel like I'm like in a podcast Blair Witch horror movie because your screen right now. So listen, listeners, where we are right now, it is like shifting from, daytime to nighttime. And so Lindsay's office just got really dark where she is. And so every once in a while I catch a glimpse of her eyeballs and it's like total Blair Witch podcast horror movie right now for me. So I had to share that live on the air with the listeners. So now you just turned the light on.
I just turned on my light. Yeah, sorry, the sun's I'm not sitting at my desk. I'm kneeling on the opposite side of my side of the desk because of the lighting in here. So
okay.
If I had a photographer friend with me, because I have so many photographer friends, they would tell me, go to this corner, Lindsay, go to this corner. They know all this stuff.
I'm like, where did Lindsay go? All I saw was an eyeball. Anyway, thank you for coming back to me, friend. That's funny. So, okay. So I was going to ask you about something else before I let myself derail us. So going back to that, the shift and the risk. So taking the risks. Now, talk to us about the reveal. What have you learned about yourself in this process of changing and revealing who you are? I mean, like what have you learned?
Oh my God. Like all my friends laugh at me when I say I used to be shy because I go into a lot of conversations about that with new people and they just laugh. Or my friends say that is that I actually really am a people person and that I thrive when I'm around people. Now at the core, I'm still an introvert, so I need that downtime to recover. I can't be around y'all 24/7.
Right.
But I've realized I have
people all day long.
Oh my God. I have a friend that wants people all day. And I'm like, how can you do this?
Yeah.
She's one of my best friends. But no, I've realized that I truly am a people person and I excel when I am around people.
Yeah.
So I need my downtime, but I'm better. So for when I moved, I worked for a financial advisor out of Houston, and for 2 years I worked from home.
Okay.
I'm like, this is great. Pajamas,
right.
No makeup, no high heels and dresses to impress our $1 million clients. This is awesome. I commute from my bedroom on the main floor to upstairs. This is great. When you're a workaholic, not so much.
Not so great.
You start working the minute you pour that cup of coffee, and next thing you know, it's 7, 8 o'clock at night and you haven't worked out and you haven't done anything else. And it was bad. But what I learned about myself, and then I was surrounded by 4 walls all the time. My home office all the time. Not talking to people, not meeting people, unless it was clients on the phone. I got less and less I built my team up there so they could support the team. So I started doing a lot more behind the scenes, like a lot of crap with spreadsheets and stuff like that.
But like no social life.
Yeah. Less of, not good. And I know that, as much as I always thought I like to be more, I feel like I enjoy my alone time, but I've learned that, I truly am a people person, and people keep telling my friends that I've met here are like, no, Lindsay, you're a people person. You need to be around people. You need your quiet time, but you need people. So I've learned that I am a people person. And then I've also learned a lot of things about like what my passions are, which is really, I love connecting other, specifically women. Men do their own thing, but, like the business I'm in now, I introduced a bunch of my friends to my friend that I joined the business under months ago. And I was like, if I didn't introduce them to you, they could have joined me under the business. But the joke, I was like, thank you. Here you go. Well, you're welcome. And I'm trying to help get one to work the business. I was like, here I am recruiting your friend that I get $0 for because she was my, it's just, I just love connecting like-minded women. Like I'm getting a bunch of girls to go together at the country club because last year we did the spend my minimums because I don't ever go there and we're canceling it this year. And I have a couple girls getting together and I invited a few, but I love having social gatherings and inviting a couple of really close friends and then other women that are similar in personality that don't know each other, and then they can meet each other. And then they all of a sudden will be like, you guys are all hanging out without me. Well, that's what happens when I introduce you.
So that's you discovered your gift is to connect.
I just love connecting like if I meet amazing people, I'm like, I don't want to not like, I grew up with other women in my life. I would hear friends talking about, close friends talking about their friends all the time. And I just thought that was weird because I was like, well, if I meet someone and they become my close friend, like I want them to be my other close friend. And I want all my close friends I want them to all be awesome and they can all hang out without me. I don't care.
Be awesome together. Like, go. I'm done peopling for the day. Yeah.
Be awesome together. Like I want to, every time I meet, this is what my friend that I joined the new business under has a bunch of my friends buying hair care from her because I introduced her to all of them before I even joined her business. Right. Because I'm just like, oh my God, awesome person plus another awesome person.
Right.
To me, it makes the world more awesome when awesome people connect.
You got that right.
Simple as that. So that's kind of like my passion is just connecting like-minded women and, or helping. Like I've, I had a friend recently who, I know she joined a group and she was new to the area and she was looking to belong and she just felt like, that girl sitting at the table alone by herself. And I'm drawn to that because I'm like, we've all been there. Every one of us has been there.
Because you were that girl. Yeah.
Yeah. Every one of us has been there. And I'm just like, oh, I friended her. And then I found out, oh my God, you're amazing. And, I just love to connect women, help women grow and be their best selves because why not? I don't see why not.
Well, life is incomplete without it. I want to go back to something that you said at the very, very beginning of the show. You talked about, and I'm going to, flub up your words, Lindsay, but you talked about how when you reach out to people and you discover that they are glad you did, that they want to be your friend, that they want to know you. Like, I really loved how you said that. Like, people want to know you. And that is a beautiful truth because too often as women, we get caught in that negative thought loop and we can lie to ourselves and say, nobody really wants to be my friend. Who am I? Like, I'm not special, whatever. But you spoke this beautiful truth to us about, yes, people do want to know you. People do want to be your friend.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it, oh my God, my dogs are barking or scratching the door. So a lot of it, and it's kind of funny because I was talking about doing Facebook Lives and our dear friend Michelle told me when I was like having a fear of doing them, I've done them, but she's like, Lindsay, you're thinking about yourself and people not wanting to hear that. That's a whole nother side thing. Yeah. But, I've learned so much in the last year of putting myself out there, but when, think about the other person's point of view. Yeah. That's the biggest thing I can say about that because, we get so insecure about, when I was in my, well before like I got, involved in networking and this and that, when I was living alone and not living alone, but with my husband in California and stuff, I didn't have any friends. And I was like, maybe I'll go on some of these social groups online. And he's like, what do you need friends for? And,
what do you need friends?
Yeah, he just said that. But, that was years ago. But, and I still felt awkward. I'm like, oh, if I ask some woman to hang out, she's going to think I'm weird. Like I'm a creeper. Like, I'm like asking him to date, like at Match.com or something. But I read something after the fact, and since networking, I mean, it's just my nature now. They're like, have coffee, have lunch, whatever. It's normal. But people want to be needed. They want the connection. So that's the thing. Like, if you invite someone to have coffee with you or meet up with you, they're probably going to feel pretty freaking flattered about it.
Yes, I love that.
You might feel that insecurity about like, oh, they might not want to be my friend. No, they want to be wanted. Yeah. They want you to want them to be your friend. Yes. I mean, there's the odd, there's always the odd circumstance that you are the creeper or they're odd or whatever. But in general, people want to be wanted and desired and, want the connection and stuff. And I've never asked anyone out for coffee where they're just like, oh my God, no, leave me alone. Like it doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
People want that.
People want that. And I love what you said. It makes them feel special. Yeah, it does make them feel special. And I love what you said about think about the other person's point of view. I would say that not so nicely. I would say it's just not about you. Like everything is not about you. So, you got to get out of this mindset that everything is about your fear and everything is about your anxiety and everything that is valid. It's legitimate, but everything is not about you. If you want something, Michelle Hilliard on episode 1 said, if you want something different, you got to do something different. Right? We can't have the same complaints and say, nobody wants to be my friend. I'm going to go outside and eat worms. Right? Like, can't do that if we want something different in our lives. Well, we can do that if we don't want our lives to be different.
But I mean, so many people are focused on their own internal feelings and they don't think of anything. This is why when I had family issues and I told my mom, I'm like, maybe it's not you. Maybe there's something weird going on with my dad or whatever. Right. But it doesn't have to be about you.
That's right.
And every time someone's like, oh, I don't know what's going on with this or that, this person's being weird about me. I was like, are they really being weird? Or
is it really about you?
Yeah. Is it really about you? Right. Because some people think, so I always feel like this is part of like what I've learned in my journey in life is that, to me, I don't know what the heck I'm here to do. Like I went to college, just got a business degree because I was like, oh, business is smart. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. Well, now I know I want to support women and empower women and help us. But I've never felt like once I realized, when I stopped, I shared this at one of my women's connections groups. When I stopped trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life or who I wanted to be, and I started trying to figure out what can I give to this world, made a huge difference. Right. I'm not here for me because I believe completely that we're here to serve others.
Yes.
We're not here. I mean, if I was here for myself, it would be absolutely miserable trying to figure out what I want to do with my life.
It would be done with. Yeah.
We're here for other people. Life is about, as humans, we're meant for community. Yes. None of us are on this planet to serve ourselves. We're all here to serve others. And that's what, like, I love telling my girlfriends I love them and doing things for them and giving everything I can to them. And that fulfills me and that fulfills them. And like, that's what makes life amazing.
Yeah. I love that. That's so beautiful. Meant for community. I love how you worded that. So, hey, Lindsay, we are coming to the end of the show for today, which is always a little bittersweet, because I want to share more of you, but maybe again in 2020, I'll have you back for season 2. But what I'd like for you to do is there's women listening and they're intrigued by you. They want to know more about you, this connector, this person who says that they were meant for community. They want to connect with you. What's the best way for them to do that? And keep in mind, you don't need to spell anything because we'll include all of the links in the show notes.
Okay. Either on Facebook, my Facebook page, my name, Lindsay Morgel. I don't know how the Facebook links work or whatnot. Okay. Or my email, which is just Lindsay Morgel. It's an AY, LINDSAY @yahoo.com.
It's Lindsay and Morgel or just Lindsay at Yahoo?
Lindsay Morgel at Yahoo.
Okay.
So it's the first and last name. Yeah.
Got it.
The Facebook one has my middle name in it. So.
Okay. Got it. And your middle name is Summer. I love that.
I know. So my mom wanted to name me Summer. My dad was against it. And I am a warm weather, California beach kind of girl. So it was meant to be.
Awesome. Well, oh my goodness. My dog is signaling to me that it is time for the end of the show because she needs to go outside. But before we do this, so you might hear her bark again. I'm so sorry. But before we sign off, Lindsay, I ask every guest to please leave the women listening with one truth that if they remember nothing else from this episode, what is it you want them to walk away with and never forget?
It is what I've learned since taking my journey here the last year and a half, stepping on my shell. Everything great is on the other side of fear. Just, oh my God, if you can face that fear, take the thought process of it and just do it, I can't tell you how amazing life is on the other side.
Wow. I love that. Everything great is on the other side of fear. So walk through the fire, ladies.
Yeah,
yes.
Walk through the fire. It's so amazing on the other side. Just do it. You will not regret it.
Wow. Lindsay, thank you, you wise old soul, for sharing these truths with us today. It's been such a fun time and a blessed time to have you here on the show. Yeah, I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too, Sherry. I'm going to go feed my doggers too. So
okay, bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
As always, I'm humbled you chose to join me this week for Thriving Thoughts. It's women like you who listen, subscribe, and give us thoughtful reviews that allow our message of thriving in any and every circumstance to reach even more women who need a healthy dose of truth speaking. I'm Dr. Sherry, and I'm grateful to be your Thriving Thoughts host, where we're shifting perspectives and speaking life to you so you can thrive. Be sure to tune in next week and share this episode with a friend. Until then, remember, overcome your little lies with big truths.